introducing each other, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. We might as well get started. I think some people will be trickling in, but we might as well just get started. Do you want to start off, Simon?
Sure. Hi, so hello everyone. My name is Simon. I'm coming as a representative of EcoNavi, which is a Brazilian-based platform mapping and supporting environmental initiatives. So primarily in Brazil, but we're starting to grow, getting more places on the map in South America. And we've been, I guess, interacting with Regen for like since 2021, and we run one of the validators in the one of the Regen validators. So yeah, happy to share more. In any case, we did share a methodology for like, or the starting point for one. Yeah, so for mainly based activities in Brazil, and I'm here to listen and have all your insight and ideas.
All right. Well, as you do it, do you just want to pass it on to somebody, and I'll try to keep track of who's talked.
I'll pass it on to Thijs.
Thanks, Simon, for your introduction. Well, my name is Thijs Fansson. I'm in Norway. I am an ecologist. I'm a researcher at the Natural History Museum at the University of Oslo. I also have my own, trying to set up my own business called EcoFluent. Trying to find what the business should be. And I'm mostly here just to learn more about Regen Network. I was also at the last meeting, and I'm interested in agroforestry, agroecology also, even though I actually have a marine ecology background. But yeah, I'm mostly here to listen and learn, and then potentially see how I can contribute. So let's go for Howard.
Hello, everyone. My name's Howard. I'm a co-founder of the Colshan Carbon Trust, and had the opportunity to work with Ned, Tika, and others in developing a methodology for biochar, and we're now in the last stages of having the methodology on the Regen registry and in the marketplace to distribute some of the credits that we created through a pilot project, 3 of them actually, that the Regen funding had helped our organization prepare and promote and ultimately execute. So I feel a great deal of affinity to the Regen network, and I've greatly appreciated the work that Ned and others have done to and Ned Tika and others on the to keep the focus on science and to have a level of rigor that allows us to have a meaningful conversation and reply to folks who have genuine concerns about eco credits and their validity. And this, to me, is the place in which we're able to come up with solid answers as to why this is a worthwhile undertaking, the development of natural climate solutions. And our organization was conceived as a vehicle for collaborative natural climate solutions in our small region in Northwest Washington State. We're about 50 miles, 80 kilometers from Vancouver. So we're in that beautiful space between Vancouver and Seattle. And I don't know, has Will had his moment of conversation yet? Okay, that's I'll pass the baton to Will.
Hey, I'm Will Masters. I'm in Amarillo, Texas, which is in the central Great Plains of the United States. It is dry and I don't know, drying out. Like my dad talks about a swamp. I remember a creek. My kid sees a dry gully. There's just like increasingly less water, and it is because really because our government incentivizes a certain type of agriculture. And the natural, well, I don't know, the carbon sequestration solutions that we've seen so far don't resemble good faith efforts to fix much of anything. And that really kind of led me into regen, and I've been just really interested for a while. I'm part of a group called Ogallala Life, and so we're exploring this Web3 refi space. Tika.
Good morning. I'm calling in from Tahoe City, California, where we have no shortage of water in the form of like 20 feet of snow. So interesting to go after you, Will. So I've been working at Regen for a year and a half and work with methodology developers to help them get through our pipeline here at Regen. So find other support with other community members. So here to listen and stay up to date on who Ned is wrangling into our ecosystem and how they might be able to support other folks that I'm talking to. But yeah, nice to see you all. I'll hand it to Hugh.
Hi everyone, I'm Hugh Sturrock, CEO of a company called Lomin, a new startup. I was formerly an academic in California, in San Francisco. My background is in sort of spatial modeling and using remote sensing data, machine learning, to look at the impacts of climate and other data on outcomes. And I more recently came across Regen Network through Ned, actually, and through the carbon plus grasslands methodology, because it leverages remote sensing data, machine learning, and seems to be one of the few that really does that and does that in a what I would consider a rigorous way. So I'm here to learn more about the network and more about potential opportunities for us to support projects and support methodology development more generally. So happy to be here. All right, and I'll pass over to Louise.
Hello. So I'm Louise. I'm researcher and writer at Curve Labs. I've been following the space for a long time, and I actually know some of the faces here, recognize people. So I'm glad that the ecosystems are overlapping. I'm currently working on the ReGeneration research project. So I'm writing a big report of what are the regeneration methodologies in the refi space. And I have a small paragraph about environmental stewardships. Been trying to join those calls for a long time, and I still can only stay until 4 to this one. It's a very tight schedule, but I'm here to listen and to be updated about what you guys are doing for this research report.
So I think, Ed, you're going to be next just by default.
There.
Ed?
Are you there, Ed?
Oh, okay. I'm in a truck right now. My buddy's out plowing some snow. So I'm Ed Bourgeois. I'm from Amherst, Massachusetts. I'm retired now basically from farming. I worked with sort of the leaders in regenerative ag and soil health since late 1960s. And I'm trying to promote what regenerative farmers have been doing and spread the word and keep on the cutting edge of things. Thank you.
All right, I think most people know who I am, but I'll just give a quick overview in case you don't. But I've been with Regen just about the same length of time as Tika. I'm on the science team. And like you, my background's mostly remote sensing, geospatial data analysis, modeling, things like that. And with that, I'll just kind of move on. I'll start with just a quick overview of some things that are going on at Regen, and then open it up to people that want to talk about, whatever you want to talk about. So some of the things that are going on at Regen, I guess the biggest news is that we're getting really close to having native credits on chain. So that's something that we've been trying to do now for several years, and we're finally at the point where it's starting to happen. So that's exciting. And I don't know if people have been following what's going on in the Cosmos ecosystem, but there's been kind of a little turbulence, and just, there's been just some kind of strange things going. Regen used to be a very strong contributor to the Cosmos network, and that contract is ending or has just ended. It's happening pretty soon if it hasn't happened already. And if people are interested, Gregory had a really good heartfelt discussion with CryptoCito. If you're familiar with CryptoCito, he's a YouTube blogger or whatever. I'm not even sure what the proper name is, but about a week or two ago, he had a really great interview with Gregory talking about a lot of the things going on in Cosmos. So if people are interested, that would be a good way to catch up. And I can put the link. I'll just make a note to put the link up to that YouTube interview. As far as the ReFi network goes, those of you who know who Sage is, she's going to be at ETH Denver. She's not participating in the DeSci event, which is, I guess it started yesterday. It's going on for a couple more days, but she'll be there soon if she's not there already. She's going to be just trying to promote the ReFi, what the ReFi network is doing, and just get a sense of what's going on in the kind of the ETH Denver space. As far as the fiber shed work goes, that is still moving along pretty slowly. I think last time we spoke, I had received some comments back from the reviewers, and I responded to those comments. So now I'm just waiting to hear back from the reviewers. We've got 4 reviewers, so it's a bit more than we usually have, and it's just taking a while. So I haven't heard back from them yet. I haven't gotten their feedback on what my response was to their initial comments, but that should be happening soon. Another activity, I'm not sure if I had mentioned this in the past, but we're working with ReFi, which is an organization. They're kind of outside of the crypto space, but they're doing a lot of work in agriculture to develop tools and things like that to support regenerative agriculture. And we're working with them to develop kind of a field, a mobile app that would make it easier to collect data in the field, basically. We're leveraging a product that they have now called Survey Stack. And we're just adding some capabilities to be able to do like live digitizing, so you could drive or walk around an area and digitize that area. And hopefully we'll be able to incorporate photographs and things like that. So it's just an effort that we're working on. It's an open source tool. It's a work in progress. Still working with the ecosystem regeneration network graph idea. I think I mentioned this last month. And it's going slowly. It's really a back burner project right now, but it is growing, and I'm hoping to have some use cases and put together a demo by the end of March. I'd say end of March, early April. So maybe when we have the meeting next month, I'll be able to do a little demo of what that project is coming. What basically the direction that it's going in. And I'm not certain that it's going to continue. Right now, it's really just a proof of concept. So once I get the demo up, I'll be looking for feedback to see what people think. Is it worth, continuing with getting contributions from the public and growing it into kind of a long-term project, or is it just better to let it kind of put to the side for now? So hopefully that we'll have a conversation about that in another month or so. Another initiative, and I don't want to put you on the spot, Tika, but I'll try anyway. We're working a lot with Hilo. We're trying to develop that as a platform where people can, as a community platform, so people can kind of use that to discuss projects and things like that. The Econavi team, Simon's team, is working on a methodology, and they just put it up there, I guess about a week ago or so. It's pretty recent. And we're getting some good discussion around it already. And I think people are slow to come to Hilo right now, but I do see momentum growing. So I'm encouraging people to go check it out if you get a chance. Do you want to mention a little about that, Tika, about what's going on with Hilo?
Yeah, and I'll try to put a link in here to join it. So yes, trying to really start to move our internal conversations, our internal processes more to high-low so people can see, like, you know, when we get, if the methodology and project developers are open for it, when we get concept notes in or methodologies at different phases, while we're doing internal reviews or even expert reviews, just to post them there and have people be able to comment and see what's happening a little bit more within our ecosystem and all the folks that we're working with, as well as just like interesting resources that might be relevant to somebody who's developing a methodology and helpful there. So building out a library of resources, a little more transparency on things that are going through our pipeline, who we're talking with, and a great kind of open networking place for folks. So, you know, we have all these internal channels where we post interesting science articles that we come across, or crypto related things. So we've started to create this space and would love feedback on it. Again, I'll find a link and put it in the chat to join that. And then we also know the folks who developed the platform. And so we're looking for feedback on the platform, and they're very open to working closely with us to developing the platform. So it's something that is easier for folks to onboard or to find discussions or to participate in. So feel free also to kind of, maybe we'll start a channel that's just a high-low feedback channel. So yeah, we're definitely working through some of the kinks, but super excited to be opening that up and having more and more of our conversations be open to the public.
One thing I might say about high-low is, I mean, I find it far more pleasant to navigate and to, you know, for the interaction than say Discord. I mean, I quite like it.
Yeah, thanks. And to wrap up, I wanted to just gauge interest in having a dual time schedule for this community call. So Timo contacted me and mentioned that it would be really nice to have something more friendly for the West Coast. And I know, Howard, you've mentioned this in the past, we've talked about it. And I'm wondering if people would be up for just alternating. So like, you know, 1 month it's this time, another month, you know, the following month it would be, say, noon Eastern time. So that would be, you know, 3 hours later from now. Does that seem reasonable, or would you recommend other times, or just sticking to a single time? Does anybody have any thoughts about that? All right. Well, I think so. I think next month we'll shoot for, you know, starting about, you know, 2.5 hours later than now. And that should be better for the West Coasters. It's not going to be as great for the Europeans. We've got, you know, quite a few Europeans here. We got just about half European crowd. So anyway, I think if we alternate, hopefully that's going to be suitable for people, and we'll try it. And if it doesn't work, we'll change it. This is all a big experiment as far as I'm concerned. Another thing, did this the Luma? Yes, go ahead.
Can I ask, would it be possible to push this back a half hour? That I find a huge difference between 6:30 and 7. Some of our cohort 1 calls have moved to 10 a.m. Eastern, and we have folks from India, so that's a bigger reach than Europe. But I'd be happy to, you know, even start it at 8 on the alternating weeks for the benefit of an extra half hour, which I found makes a huge difference. I don't have an interrupted sleep in the way that for some reason 6:30 entails. So if there'd be accommodation, I'd be happy to and then I'd leave it to other West Coasters to opine, but to start earlier than noon Eastern on the alternating week and start a little bit later on this one.
So I'm sorry, I'm not quite. So you basically reduce the time between the two?
Well, I was just saying, if we could have this call at 7 and maybe the alternating call at 8 to not infringe on folks' evenings to the same degree. Because I'll let others on the West Coast speak, but I've just found a huge difference between 6:30 and 7, which isn't a problem, and 8 would be my normal time anyway.
So then the early time would be
10 Eastern,
10 Eastern.
and the later time, say, could be 11 Eastern, and that would be less disruptive for our European friends. I mean, we did it to accommodate folks in India and Cambodia, which we don't have to worry about on this group.
How does that sound to people?
Or I'm just wondering too, if you'd want to make it a bigger discrepancy, besides just an hour, that seems a little small, Ned. And then I think whatever you decide on, maybe there's two different invites, obviously, so people can just click to either join both or one or the other. But
Well, yeah, I think I was thinking of alternating month to month so that there wouldn't be 2 different times each month. There'd just be, one month would be an early month, the next month would be the later month.
yeah, I mean, the later one you were doing to accommodate West Coast folks, right?
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, then I know we don't currently have people here from India or places where it's a bigger, but I think we've tried to do that, right, Ned? I mean, we've got Mark and we've got GVK and other things. So I'm just wondering if pushing that back would, I think it's interesting to try to accommodate folks in other regions.
All right, well, we'll talk about it, I guess, within Regen and come up with something. But I think we'll at least try to have 2 different times. And I'll definitely take your comments into consideration, Howard. And maybe 10 and 11 is, Eastern time is that what we'll come up with. We'll talk with our colleagues in India as well.
Yeah, I'd prefer noon, but I want to be sensitive, and I think it would be beneficial to get folks further east if that's possible.
Okay. And just a quick question: I used a new platform, Luma, to do the kind of the email and schedule the call. Did that work for people? Or I know last month Seb Nightingale suggested that we also use a calendar invite, like just a repeating calendar invite that could be updated. That's what we used to do. But then it got to be a problem when we have to change it. And especially when one person was moderating and when the moderator changed it, it caused some problems. But just wondering what people thought of Luma, if that worked, or if you prefer another way to set up these calls.
I think it
Worked
worked
fine for
fine.
me.
Yeah, sorry.
Worked
For
fine
you?
for-
Yeah, I think it worked fine, but I had a problem one time when I emailed you that the link
Oh,
wasn't
right, yeah,
working.
their server was down or something wasn't right.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but then I tried later and it worked fine.
All right. Okay, so anyway, that's pretty much it for me. Does anybody, and I know, Luis, you're going to have to go a little early. So did you want to were there things you wanted to talk about explicitly that we could start with you?
I had a question that was triggered from the updates you were giving in the beginning. I still have 3 minutes left, but maybe you can answer to this question. It's you were talking about some things going on in the cosmos ecosystems, and I didn't really understand what it was about, and maybe you can talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, I don't understand it that well either. It just I know from the Regen side, we were one of the main developers of the Cosmos software, basically. So we were, we had a pretty solid contract with the Cosmos ecosystem to help develop the software, the SDK. And that contract is ending, but there's also been a lot of kind of I think there's a lot of trolling going on. And it's hard for me to understand who's doing the trolling and this and that, but some people being very critical and not very nice about other projects in the Cosmos ecosystem. I don't fully understand. Let me see if I can find the CryptoCedo link to that interview.
Would that mean that Regen will move from Cosmos?
No, I don't expect so. I don't know what, if that's even a possibility. But I don't, there's no, I haven't heard anything along those lines. It's just that, people are wondering what's really going on in the ecosystem.
Also, I was going through this Hilo page that Tika sent, and I've seen something that sparked my interest. It's the environmental stewardship paper, but I can't access it. Is it because it's an old version and you maybe have a newer one?
I'm not sure. I can give you the link for that. Let me see.
Here's the most recent one, I think.
Oh, thank you.
Where are you
Oh
based?
yeah, okay, I have this one. Okay, wonderful. So I thought there was something better. Yes. Perfect. All right, I gotta jump, and the link of the CryptoCedo YouTube is.
Yeah, the CryptoCedo link it's the YouTube link that Tice posted.
Okay,
So that's worth looking at. I think Gregory kind of just lets people know what his thoughts are, and he's right in the middle of all this, so he certainly knows what's going on.
All right, I need to jump. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you could make it.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right. So what are folks interested in talking about? Anything in particular, or any specific questions? Or hey, Becca's here too.
Hey, everybody. Sorry to be late. How are things going? Hi.
All right. We're just trying to figure out what to talk about. We just did some introductions. I gave a kind of update of what's going on in the regen side. And then
Nice.
Louise from Curve Labs was here, but she had to leave. So she just asked a couple quick questions, but had to jump off.
Nice. Well, I actually just got off of a call with a group called Corridor, and I'll put it into chat. They seem like an interesting fit for environmental stewardship. They're using the Milwaukee forestry method. It's like intensive like seeding of forests, and they're looking at a lot of different co-benefits and have some really interesting projects that are moving, but they're uniquely situated in that they don't have a body of peer-reviewed literature to lean on for that approach. So they're trying to figure out, what, if they did do an environmental stewardship approach, what data would they be collecting along the way? So I thought that was an interesting use case.
Yeah, thanks. Hugh, you were going to say something, I think.
Yeah, hi Ned. I was just going to ask about, so we had previously talked about the carbon plus grasslands methodology. And I know that there is another methodology that's in the works related to croplands, and again, using imagery and AI to better understand changes in carbon. I just wondered when that methodology, like what's the timeline on that methodology? I think it's under review somewhere at the moment, whether that's, I don't think it's public review yet, but I wondered where that was, and also wondered whether, because I'm still getting my head, I'm new to regen, wondering whether there are other methodologies that leverage imagery and modeling as part of what they do that I should be aware of.
Becca, can you give an update on the, because it looks like Tika's just stepped away for a minute. I know she's up on what's going on, but that's going, the public review is starting any day now, isn't it?
Yep, and that is the public comment. So I'll drop a link for those that want to review the methodology, submit a public comment, or just kind of join the discussion, because it's ecometric and it's regenerative agriculture, holistic management, and they're using remote sensing. So it kind of hits a lot of those points. So here's the invite to join. And you'll be able to find the methodology itself and ask questions to the developers on that thread. They're based out of Europe, and I believe their pilots are based there as well. There's some overlap certainly within carbon plus grasslands and this method, but theirs is employing that same approach, in situ samples and remote sensing to regenerative cropping as well.
Yeah, they're using an artificial neural network. And I think they have a lot of sample data that they're able to leverage. I'm not sure why they're not going with the convolutional neural networks, because everybody else seems to be doing that, but they seem really convinced that what they've got is working well. So,
and so does that methodology then specify that you have to use that particular modeling approach to model carbon? Or can you use any approach that takes a set of features and tries to predict the outcome?
I think theirs is more, again, Tika, I think, has been tracking this more closely. My understanding is that it is tied to their specific algorithm. And right now it's basically a black box. It's a proprietary algorithm. But that's one of the differences from the Carbon Plus.
Yeah,
is more open, and I think I know Giselle is certainly open for attaching different options to it. The remote sensing approach that we're using is not nearly as sophisticated as what you're doing or what Ecometric is doing, mostly because we don't have the time or the data sets to train a model. We don't have any, as far as soil data go, we don't have those resources available. So we're using a kind of brute force method, which works, but it's a case by case situation where we don't have a model or anything built up that can be used for other things, or we can't leverage. I mean, it's not like with a nice convolutional neural network, you can do transfer learning. So once you get the great architecture and the model running, you can tweak it using data, many fewer data points than you would have to if you're building it from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, what I like about the Carbon Plus methodology is it allows for that flexibility, right? It just makes the point that you can take some samples and you can apply a model to it to extract data and interpolate essentially other values, and so it leaves it open to the project to leverage whichever algorithm they think is going to work best. And as long as there's a mechanism to quantify uncertainty, then the better models will do better. So I think having that flexibility is great. But I'll take a look at that new methodology. Thanks for posting the link.
Hugh, could you remind us what your startup does or where it focuses on?
Yeah, so we are essentially trying to build MRV tools for soil carbon projects, whether that's regenerative ag or other sort of rewilding projects that have a soil carbon component. But trying to align the tools that we're developing with methodologies that are out there. So, for example, a lot of methodologies require that soil samples are taken and carbon stock estimates are made on the basis of soil samples alone, so without modeling, like the Carbon Plus. And so in that case, we are building tools to help with the stratification of sites using AI and satellite imagery. And we're confident we can reduce the number of samples that you need to take. But then for methodologies like Carbon Plus, building those tools to kind of automate that process so that projects can take samples and then essentially put them into a machine and get back estimates with uncertainty estimates as well. So we're still we're building a range of things and seeing where they fit best, if that makes sense. But essentially using imagery, machine learning, and soil sample data.
Okay. But when you look in high-low, I guess I'll say in the context of this, namely MRV, us at Econavi, we recently submitted, I guess the starting point of a methodology, which is now, beginning the regen review process. So, there's still some work on it, but I guess for what we'd call a qualitative method of added value, for biodiversity and just the various ecological metrics. And on Econavi, the website, we do have we have a whole sort of photo posting system, which is in place and that various actors in the ground are already using, but this can be deployed as one aspect of an MRV tool for the sake of at least demonstrating a before and after of, an area that's transformed for, greater ecological abundance and resilience. And I guess because our focus is agroforestry, we're committed to it, but there's that. So it is there comes this demonstration of biodiversity, various plants, and then a certain resilience developed in a certain geographical space, but of which a lot already can be done empirically. So with, MRV through photography, and then everything else is beneficial tools, whether it's, for soil analysis or any, other metrics that can be added on.
Cool. How do you spell Econavi?
I'll write it here in the chat. It's EKONAVI, and the website is that.com, econavi.com.
Okay, great. I'll check it out. Thank you.
Mainly, and I also, I guess, wanted to say to Will that, beyond the platform itself, that in the northeast of Brazil, which is, predominantly dry lands, there's a number of projects with agroforestry that has been able to regenerate areas for, dense biodiversity, like spaces of dense biodiversity, even in an area that has been rather dry for, like a century or more. One of the main figureheads of agroforestry in Brazil, this guy Ernst Götsch, he's known for a quote saying that water is something you plant. So if you have more of a, if you're able to develop an abundant ecosystem, even at a small scale, the fact that water's in the ground means that it can, the plants hold it, the cycle goes, and maybe some inspiration for what you're doing in Amarillo.
Cool, thanks. And that is like the truth. And what's so frustrating is there are so many things we could do to turn the desertification around. But yeah, cool. And I will, Aaron, tell me that guy's name again.
What were you speaking to me specifically?
Yeah, what was that guy's name again that you said? Like Aaron.
Ernst Götsch. I'll write it also here.
Cool.
But you didn't. What is the name of your startup, and do you have a website as well? Maybe.
So is that for me?
Yeah, that was for you.
Yeah, sorry. We're called Loamin, LOAMIN, loamin.com. So yeah, check us out. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Always happy to and keen to talk to as many people in the space as possible. We're very new, so we're still trying to figure out where we fit and what our USP is. So really keen to sort of learn more about the landscape and how people approach MRV and project development, how we might be able to support that.
Yeah, I'll definitely get in touch with you because I find it really interesting what you're doing also. So
Great, thank you.
I'll catch up with you in LinkedIn.
Sounds good. And can I ask other sort of regen people, what are the best ways to get in touch or to connect with projects that are leveraging some of the methodologies, particularly grasslands, the Carbon Plus, or any others that might be using imagery or collecting soil samples? I'd love to talk to them, sort of learn more about how they approach things and their needs.
That's a great question, Hugh, and it's one that we talk about pretty frequently right now, is kind of how to connect a lot of interesting kind of offers and opportunities with those that could really use them and need them. Right now, I mean, up until this point, it's really just existed over email. But Tika and Ned and I were just talking yesterday about wanting to create some sort of directory to, to say, who offers what. But then the connection is something that we're working to leverage Hilo for, to where you could make a, you could make a post to say, hey, this is the work that we do, who might want to connect with it. And then those that are in that Regen Registry community of various projects would be able to see that and engage with you kind of without us being an intermediary. So that is a current effort, a big current effort to leverage that, because I feel like I have a handful of projects that I imagine would want to connect with you around that just already. So hold tight.
Okay.
It's a little time, and I want to be able to do that in an effective way.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. And on the topic of connection, so you all can check out the awesome EcoNavi concept note. I just put the link into the environmental stewardship group if you guys aren't already in it, so you can check out their qualitative credit working document and then offer some comments on there. It was really awesome to be able to engage with it there as well. And that's both for the regen team. You'll see us and Gregory engaging on that, and then anybody else you can invite into that space to build out that kind of conversation, especially around something like a new concept like EcoNavis.
Thanks.
Simon, a question for you. Somebody just reached out to me this morning from a group called Savimbo from the Colombian Amazon, and they're working with smallholder farmers. It sounds kind of like what you're interested in doing. I didn't know if you had heard of them or
not them specifically. We've had some recent units joining the project from Colombia, but much more in the Sierra Nevada, which is the near the Caribbean coast. There's a mountain range over there, and I mean basically in the north of Colombia, not in the Colombian Amazon. And both from agroforestry or different regenerative practices, as well as indigenous land tenure projects, stuff like that. But look, I'm the more the merrier, and happy to get in touch if they'd like to join. And where we are starting to get more units and growing in Latin America. And although we're in a phase of focusing on testing things out, trying to distribute, what revenue we have to the field, more so than community growth. But yeah, everybody's free to join. Even in Norway, you can put your. We have a handful of dots in Europe, but so yeah. Also, in addition to, I have the link for Green Pop open. If there's a connect, happy to connect.
All right, yeah, I'll talk to my wife and see if she can set something up to an introduction or something, or maybe I can do it through my wife. I'm not sure, but it just sounds like they're doing something that's kind of in line with what your interests are. And there's also a group, I think Becca, you've been in touch with them. We met with them once, RM Terra in Portugal. They're doing agroforestry, but on a very small. They're basically doing individual small properties, and it's a slightly different approach, but that's another group. And I think these would be groups that would be neat if we get some conversation, get them involved in Hilo, or at least in some platform to get you guys all talking to one another and learning from each other's lessons, because there's a lot of work going on around there. So anyway, we'll do what we can to stimulate or at least catalyze those discussions, and then they can go where they need to go.
Awesome. By the way, Ned, if ever I wanted to reach out to you, I mean, I have your, is it best by email or should I also write you on Hilo or either?
Email always works. That's my kind of go-to
Okay.
medium. I kind of like handwritten letters too, if you.
I
But
guess
no, email works best. I think that's.
Uh-huh.
But Hilo, I mean, anything it works. It sometimes, I mean, I usually check Hilo once a day kind of thing, whereas email, if something comes in, I usually see it within half an hour or so.
Cool. I actually have a broad question, I guess, to everybody in the group, because oftentimes the methodologies are linked to, you know, a specific geographical region, whether it's for climate or for, you know, legal bureaucratic policy reasons. Is there do you know of anybody working on something that would be, let's say, you know, transnational, and it's more about trying to have a unit basis, but that can be deployed, you know, in one region or another, or is it, or that's too broad because of at least the environmental considerations, let alone the legal?
Well, I know like Courageous, they would like their methodology to be adaptable beyond Brazil for sure. And I know I think you said you've chatted with them.
We have.
So what may happen in those cases is something like what Howard did, where there's a base methodology, and then for different regions, there's an appendix that's created that can be used. I mean, we're also speaking with somebody who's doing an ocean-based one. And again, they're just developing the methodology. They have no projects. They just want this to be used as much as possible around the world. So there's definitely folks that are thinking that way.
I second that. And I think that's where playing around with the credit class structure allows you to be just deeply composable globally. You know, if you have the indicator, you have the approach, the measurement approach, and then you have all the different potential applications, you know, these different criteria for applying it in this ecoregion, or, you know, what have you, like that. The credit class really allows you to evolve that in wherever, really, or that's how it's been designed.
Howard, I think you were asking agroforestry. Courageous Land is an agroforestry methodology based in Brazil right now. So I know where you are. I know that's a big leap, but they do have folks that have reached out to them in the United States to speak with them about using their methodology. So I can find out more about who those folks are that are hoping to work with them in the US, what those environments look like. But yeah, they're very interested in broadening their.
Would be grateful for those connections in the context of agroforestry, which will be our second natural climate solution for a pilot.
Yeah, and I think that Becca's spun up an agroforestry working group in Hilo. I think there's one in there.
Okay. So that's the place to plug in, it sounds like.
Yeah, we'll populate as much as possible.
Yeah, and I think there's so much going on there that we want to make it like really deliberate, you know, about like sharing with when people come in, to be able to like share what they're working on, what they're, you know, kind of bringing to the table, and what they want from the group. You know, like, do they want engagement, or do they want review of, you know, their method? Are they looking for pilots, you know, things like that. So that's something else to look forward to. There's a lot around agroforestry happening right now, so we want to coalesce.
And I will just note that this network graph work that I'm doing, the first use case is agroforestry. So that hopefully, you know, that's the demo, even though it's just a demo, will have some utility for agroforestry, and it's going to be set so it'll be easy to build that out fairly rapidly. And one other comment about the methodologies that can work in different places. I think we, like Deacon Becca said, we've got those there are quite a growing number of those. But one topic that I haven't really seen, and I haven't really thought about this before, but you had mentioned it, Simon, is transboundary. So even though the methodologies work in different places, I don't know if any methodology has directly addressed transboundary issues, which are significant, and it's something that might be worth putting some thought into, because it's easy enough to have one methodology here and another one here, but if it is transboundary, it creates kind of unique issues.
It's, I mean, like one example, and I don't remember where I was reading this. I think it was in the Region Marketplace. Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but for example, there's one thing where the reward was linked to some policy that was passed in California for carbon capture or some kind of climate mitigation, and so it was specifically linked to some initiative in the state of California. So I mean, you could apply it. Sure, you can apply it in name a state, but it wouldn't work within the framework of the reward framework provided by the state of California. And does this ring a bell with any of you?
It wouldn't have been with the city forest credits because most of those are in the Northeast. But if it had to do with California, then it would, I imagine, tied to the compliance market there. Those credits did not come through region registry, so we weren't tightly tied to them coming through, but I'm happy to dig in more. And
I admit I might have read it somewhere else, going through what's going on in the world. But if I find it, I'll let you know.
Can I ask a question about scope of the Environmental Stewardship Forum, but more particularly about the domain in which Hilo is going to operate? And is it fair to say that we, by way of methodology, are looking for processes that can aggregate small landowners to be able to access the markets and spread transaction costs? And we're researching and about to launch a work group to try to design what we're calling a carbon cooperative as a way to get smallholders access to carbon markets, because, as you know, the methodologies are complicated. You need a translator in many cases, and the challenge of spreading transaction costs is pretty big, for anybody but the biggest landowners. So that's our next project. And is that something that where within the regen ecosystem would we find collaborators, folks who are looking at this issue and trying different things? We have our model as a carbon trust, and we're making it up as we go along. And is Hilo where we want to land, or what advice would you give for the non-science methodology, kind of the economic social science methodology side of the work? Is any guidance there?
I can hop in first here. I think I see this as twofold. One where there's the kind of coordination and connection happening, and I do imagine Hilo to be a clean space for that, where you can even look at the current groups and say, well, I think it would make sense to have this group here or this group here, and like we work together to make that space, for you, and that we can drive people to. The other side of that same coin is the kind of external facing side, like the funneling side, where we get people in. We are currently working on kind of what our marketing approach is, in a way, like how are we engaging on these different platforms to drive people to us, so that we can have, can use our voice to say within Region Network to say, hey, if anybody is working on these projects, this is where you find, the person to connect with. And I think that's how we're holding it, is kind of being able to do that outreach and then have a place for those people to land and directly connect with you instead of, us and then you. How does that feel, Howard, or Tika and other additions there?
Well, let me clarify what our next step is and to see whether that arrangement makes sense or whether recruiting on high-low is the way to go, or just using the network, which your network, which we did last time. We formed a work group, as Tika and Ned know, and we got a lot of great assistance, particularly from our regen partners in working our methodology. And this is a different approach to methodology because it's economic aggregation rather than as a way to access the markets. So, we're thinking of forming a work group, and I guess maybe my concrete question is, where do we look to recruit talent like we were able to attract for our biochar work group to help us learn more and get experiences of others? So and high-low might be how to do that. My question is, where would those people raise their hands if they're interested?
Yeah, I'm also wondering if possibly support from the foundation could come into play here, Howard. I would maybe suggest that you, if you have some sort of a concept note or initial description written up that you can share with us, then we can read through that and better understand what your needs are and what you're looking for. That might be my suggestion. And again, you can send that to us and post in a high-low group, and no harm in putting it out in several places. But as far as our ideas and or possibly internal support, it might be better for us to read through something that more clearly outlines what your needs are.
Yeah, well, that's fair, Tika. And I'm working on a charter with Gabe. We're going to take it to our board on Thursday. And once we have a charter, maybe I can post that through Austin's network and through the R&D network to see who's drawn to it and who may have some experience in solving the problems that go into forming a co-op. It's really kind of put a DAO into terms that don't off-put farmers and landowners.
And we're at time, so if people have to go, certainly feel free. I just wanted to mention one thing, at least my thoughts on this. I think high-low is a great platform for a community to rally around, but it might not, at this point at least, be the greatest for catalyzing a community. I think the foundation is good, but another group you might want to check into is Collaborative Earth. They've really been kind of evolving, and in the last iteration, they have these labs, and you could effectively create a lab and recruit people through their website or through their community, and you could do that and still use high-low as kind of a community gathering point. But that's something that might be worth checking into. I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but it's worth looking into.
Could you repeat that name and offer?
Yeah, it's Collaborative Earth. They used to be what were they called?
Earthshot.
Earthshot. Yeah, it used to be called Earthshot, and now it's Collaborative Earth. And I really did not like their model at all. I thought they were going down the wrong path, but they've gone through a few iterations, and this latest one, I think, is going in a good direction.
Thank you. Well, thanks, Becca. And Tika.
It's good to see you all, and see you all next time or around the interweb until then.
And we'll send out a message with the new times coming. I'll probably get that out in the next day or two. So thanks, everybody. Hope this was useful.
And speak to you all soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.